Sad days.
Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you find yourself in this weird, wild, wacky world of ours, and welcome to the exciting installment of Darkness in Dublin. The library's calm, almost sacrosanct atmosphere is only disturbed by the scratching of pens against paper and the muted sound of the Spotify that echoes from that one inconsiderate bastard's headphones. Clearly people so uncouth. Theo Crane finds himself wending his way between the high bookshelves that seem to loom over him like arching pillars. There's a safety in the security of being among their number. After all, you are surrounded by the likes of Chaucer and Wilde, Ghent and Bruckner. How could one not feel at home with such great company? What book is Theo going to try and find today, then?
Theo is looking for a book on local Brythonic culture of the pre-Roman occupation of Britain.
So you are looking for a copy of Dr. Silas Dingleberry's Celtic Life in Celtic Life circa 320 BCE.
He's a big fan.
I mean, wouldn't you be of Dr. Dingleberry? Therein lies the question. You turn down onto the classical history section. This is your stomping ground. You probably know these steps in this specific line of books better than most people do. So much so, as you walk past, you see the fact that an essay on pre-Roman Carthage has been placed right next to Pompey's campaign in in Hispania. This angers you so much, you refile them because that is incorrect.
My obsession with dates.
Those inconsiderate bastards.
It is. It is really quite just sigh-worthy, really. I mean, do we really have to be so indolent here? I think is the question. We are, after all, at a most prestigious college. We should at least do our part to leave it how we left it, if nothing else.
As you take your next right step, boom, something very peculiar happens. You're no longer standing where you were standing. Instead, you're standing outside in a forest. The smell of smoke is thick in the air, but then boom, as you take your next right step, you're quite happily back in the college. You're quite happily back in the same book row. That was very peculiar.
Theo leans on his walking stick for a second. His eyes twitch slightly. Just kind of. His just kind of twists his neck to the side for a moment. Brief look around. A double take.
Mm-hmm.
But puts it down to something. Daydreaming. He's probably just becoming too immersed in his studies again. Or maybe some bastard is smoking in the hallway. Who knows?
Do you continue to walk?
He'll continue to walk.
Okay.
Keeping an eye out for the cigarette smoking culprit right next to a library. Honestly, just
yes, but Theodore does strike me as the kind of man who would call it the wacky tobacco.
I mean, he's not that stuck up, but yes.
As you take your next your next right first step forward, boom! You are not just standing in a forest. You are now standing amid what you can only describe as a Celtic Iron Age chronog, an artificial island half submerged in bog water upon which homes have been built. But these homes are not merely the substance that you've seen or read of in books. No, no, no. You see people living in these places. You see, in the briefest flash, a woman kneading, grinding flour, my apologies, grinding corn to flour using the old traditional method of crushing it. But then, as you take your left-hand step, boom, you're right back in the library.
Theo at this point readjusts himself as he walks, sort of strange spasms of hallucinations, causing him to momentarily lose balance on his walking stick and just quickly readjusts it before he almost trips over it. As he is all beginning to find this extremely peculiar. He does feel rather clear of mind. This is awfully strange. This is not normal at all. He begins to ponder in his head what could be causing his sudden not simple daydreams, because he feels lucid in his visions. He is not unconscious, surely not. He's not asleep. This is ridiculous. But he'll keep walking again at a fairly snail's pace because of his condition.
And that it is on the next step. You are standing back in that chronog. You see all around you everyday life. You smell wood fire, smoke burning. However, this time it is different. As you move, you do not reappear in the library. As a matter of fact, it is not just a case at this time of you being able to witness them. The woman will look up and her eyes will lock with you. Her face will register her confusion for a few brief heartbeats before she'll turn and say into the hut, Nilalgwe, Nilalgwe Dolkamishka, Sagwe, in a very concerned tone.
Do I understand that language in any way whatsoever?
I don't speak Irish, so you might get. It's very old Irish. You get a couple of the you get maybe one word in five. She said person or she said someone or person, and I don't know, or I have no idea.
Theo, again, this time he seems a little bit taken aback and struggles to balance himself on his right foot as he pulls it back. Before readapting to the moment, kind of putting both his hands on his walking stick and centering it, and just kind of his eyes narrowing on his environment, not necessarily on the woman, but the environment, and then the person, as he just mutters to himself, "This is peculiar. It is ridiculous."
Almost whispered on the wind, you'll hear it said, "What is preposterous is only preposterous if one truly believes it is in fact preposterous."
Oh, fascinating. Now I'm suffering from multiple personality disorder as well. This is a remarkable turn of events. I did not expect.
At this point,
I did not expect this.
At this point, a very large, hairy man has emerged from the hut with an axe in one hand. He does not look best pleased.
Oh yes, I'm sure my fate will be as gleeful as the tree stump over there.
Ah, the gleeful tree.
He kind of focuses on the voice on his head, like trying to emphasize the sarcasm in his statement. As he just kind of looks up, twinges, like he looks up, narrows his eyes, looks back to towards the gentleman with the axe, and just puts up a single hand as a pseudo wave, in acknowledgement.
I thought this was what you wanted.
Kind of long blink. Well, I can tell I'm most certainly fascinated by this turn of events, including the new entrant in my body, but I'm not exactly keen on being mauled to death by this rather belligerent-looking gentleman. No.
Ah, so you're saying you would like me to extricate you from said circumstance? For the record, it's quite interesting. You actually have to patch together what this entity is saying to you, because every word it says is a different word of the languages you speak that have been kind of mashed together into a sentence. So the first word might be in English, the second word might be in German, the third word might be in etc.
Well, I would be delighted to have a conversation with them, but I do not believe this will end in a polite conversation.
Oh, I see.
Unless you are a fan of taking risks, I suppose I am, considering he looks down at his legs.
Perhaps it might be wise for me to extricate you from the situation. One moment. As they say one moment, the axe is thrown at you.
Oh yes, please do!
Only for it to stop millimeters from your face as everything around you turns to dust. You are standing in a black void until such time as you see a single ray of light split through the darkness, illuminating a desk, a very large Baroque desk in the French style, behind which, seated, with her head looking down towards the desk, is this individual.
Oh, how splendidly anachronistic.
I suppose that would depend on your version of the word anachronism.
Well, if I recall, we are now far, far in the future. Far to wager, I guess. 16 to 1700s, and I don't recall, if I may be so rude, any figures such as yourself holding authority of this time period, although I suppose you could be an exception, a very powerful one, or a proxy.
Interesting. You opt and you deign to see things with your eyes, and then you use logic to explain that which is inherently unexplainable. Fascinating.
Well, I'm doing the best I can. Obviously, being shifted from what I can only assume is either an incredibly convincing hallucination or being shunted from, if I were to be a bit more eccentric about this, from one timeline to the next. Yes, that would be most unexplainable. In which case, I'm simply making do with what I have.
I see. Well, would you care to sit down?
Oh, I would be delighted, thank you. I have not had the pleasure of introductions. So, well, I suppose you know who I am if you've managed to pull this off. But I am Theodus Crane. A pleasure to meet you.
Indeed. But you have to understand, Mr. Crane, I knew you since before you drew breath.
Well, I must say that is intriguing, to say the least. In what way do you mean?
Well, she'll say, as she sits in her chair. All of us in life have moments that inherently and inexorably change it. It can be the moment where we meet the one in whom we will place our love. It can be the moment where we find those in whom we will place our admiration or our hatred. There are many moments that shape our lives. I have been waiting for you to simply achieve this moment since the time you were born.
Well, I must say I'm relieved that you are so impressed by my steps down a hallway.
Really? Is that what you think? Or is it merely the fact that those steps you took? Well, who's to say when we are ready? If fate does not know, is fate blind? Or is fate a fool? Anything's possible. Perhaps those steps are merely the culmination of one life, and now you step into another.
Well, I must say this has been a rather sudden shift in my occupation, but yes, I am quite curious as to the whole situation. You purport this to be some sort of destiny.
After all, did the Romans not kneel and pray to Fortuna, the goddess of fortune, to favor them with a good harvest or even a game of cards? Everyone needs luck and destiny on their side, lest it all falls to nothing. And thus it was to Rome and Carthage, both forgotten, yet remembered.
Ah, yes, I'd always wondered what it must have been in its heyday.
Would you care to see?
Now that I would be most thankful for.
This is not for me to do. She will put the bowl on the table and roll it across. Roll, 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 roll.
He just kind of stops it with one finger to prevent it from falling off.
Now, I want you to look into the bowl. Clear your thoughts of everything else save the purity of the crystal. Come to see only that.
I'll see to your wisdom. He says, like, there's a moment of looks at this person rather blankly, looks at the crystal ball, then kind of takes a whole none of this makes sense. I may as well do as she says.
Welcome to everyone's awakening ever. It never makes sense.
And yeah, we'll take his time to focus on the ball and on the history he seeks to reveal to himself.
All right.
As it
What
kind
do
of
you wish to
crosses,
see?
he will. He'll pull back to the 1st century. He'll even specify the date in his mind, AD 23.
Mm-hmm.
August 25th. Actually, would it have been? Would they have had August? Actually, one quick moment, because I'm not sure they would have. Let me just double check. Yeah, they do. They do. They'd only just gotten August. But yes, he focuses on that specific date in particular, and will simply place himself in the Senate of Rome, as it was known as it was at the time.
Did anything specific happen on that date? Because Evan is drawing a blank, or do you just want to see it?
There wasn't anything specific happening on that date. No, it's just it's a day. It's a day in the life of Roman senators.
You
having
will.
some sort of debate or
That's fair.
forum.
The crystal will start to shimmer and glow in your hands for a moment until, indeed, there reflected is a hall of marble where many men sit dressed as if they were dressed in fine toga. One of them stands and says in perfect Latin, "Honored senators and conscript fathers, unfortunately, due to the grain shortages impingent on our shipments from Egypt, the House will be forced, in order to levy a new 3% tax on all salt being imported from Liberia in order to offset this deficit so that the grain supply may be subsidized in order to keep the people's grain ration at its normal set quota. I open this motion to the House for debate. The Honourable Senator Gnaeus Publius Skincanius has the floor." And the debate will continue. The figure sits there for as long as you wish to listen.
He kind of just thinks to himself, they are surprisingly dry. I can only imagine what intrigue spurred such a convoluted motion.
Sorry, one moment.
I wonder if this is recorded anywhere.
Do you traditionally look for the records of 1,000-year-old tax censuses?
No, but it would be rather fulfilling to know that I witnessed it firsthand and then to hold the record in my hand itself. Wouldn't it? It's almost like a time capsule.
Anything is
Quite
possible.
literally in my case.
She will smile and she will say, "The world of possibilities opens for those whose eyes are no longer clouded. You are one such now. Your eyes open. Tomorrow, a vestige within your hands. Rejoice and revel in the fact that you are unbound by the possible and now know only the certainty.
He takes this moment to absorb that statement. You aren't going to leave me on such an enigma, are you?
I'm not to be your teacher. I am merely to put you on the path. You will see me again, however, when it is you feel you are ready. Others will be your teachers, and others will show you the correct path.
Why, how curious. In any case, I do hope I get to see you again. I'd love to discuss your own origins sometime, considering you have me at such a disadvantage, and you seem to carry a great history with you.
If it helps, that is not the first time you have said that, and I very much doubt that it will be the last. And as she says that very cryptic line, you find yourself falling. The darkness consumes you until thunk, you land on a carpeted floor looking upwards at the library that surrounds you. However, interestingly, you will hear a shout come from the library, come from deep within the library of, "What the hell? The fuck?" Like a number of different voices chime in absolute surprise. Would you like to roll me perception awareness? Or alertness, rather?
Yeah, I'll just look at my awareness real quick.
Alertness, sorry, I got it wrong. But
I'm not as good at I'm actually kind of okay. Alertness, as it turns out. I'm decent. I'm not horrible.
So it's pretty obvious you're only going to require one success.
Where should I roll, damn it? Just in rolls?
In the rolls, yeah.
Oh, I don't succeed at all.
Well, that was a sad one. Yeah, no, you are completely oblivious. You will pick yourself up and brush yourself down, and you'll hear there's a general sense of confusion and upset all around the library. Got no idea why.
My bets are on Evelyn smoking in the hallway again.
Clearly, those inconsiderate bastards.
Yes. There's a smoking area outside, damn it.
So you pick yourself up, and what do you do?
He kind of, he'll slowly pick himself up. He kind of grabs his stick and uses it for the crutch that it literally is. Heaves himself up, takes a quick look around.
I tell you what, do you want to roll me that perception alertness again? Because it is very obvious.
Okay, I got 4 successes this time.
Okay, as you look around, all the titles and the author's names on the books are missing.
Oh, well, this is just a bloody disaster.
As in, they don't exist. Do you pick up a book?
Yeah, he'll hurry over to one of the books.
There is no text inside the book whatsoever. Just pages, blank pages.
Oh, what on earth is this? What sort of... I shouldn't even say this. It was probably me. Or her. One of us did this. He says, kind of talking to himself. This is not a... And then he kind of continues this line of conversation in his head. This is not a coincidence. What did you do to my books? What did you do to our books?
No, I don't have a library card. No, stop it. No, oh, fuck off. At which point you will see this woman stride down the corridor as she basically, as one of the docents attempts to stop her, she very casually catches him by the face and pushes him away. Right. Oh.
Hello. Good afternoon. I haven't. I don't believe I've had the pleasure.
No, you wouldn't have. It's you, isn't it? Well, considering, yes, that would make sense. Hello. She'll extend her left hand, which is also she's covered from head to foot in the white uniform that you see. She's also wearing white gloves. She has an appearance of 5 with the spec in sexy.
Oh my!
I allowed myself one character who had it. She extends her left hand to shake yours.
Yep. He'll extend his hand. Theodus Crane, studying a PhD in ancient classical history, which has been unfortunately rudely interrupted by the, well, malcontented vandalism, from what I can tell. A very convoluted one.
Well, no, but possibly, but no. It's very nice to meet you. My name is Alexandra D'Onofrio.
Pleasure.
Now, you and I are going to go and we're going to have a little chat.
I suppose that depends. How poorly will this end for me?
Depends on the chat.
He measures this. Well, I suppose it can't be worse than I should not tempt fate.
What, then you accidentally erasing all of the text from every book within this library?
Why, I would never. He seems offended at the implication that he would vandalize a source of academic of learning is preposterous.
Via your own intention, no. Via the machinations of fate, anything's possible. Now, I need a cigarette, and yes, come along.
Please, not here, please.
I'm not going.
Evelyn is already. Evelyn is. There are too many of them. Too many Evelyns that smoke in the hallway.
She will very casually grab your arm, at which point it will feel once again as though you're falling for a few seconds. However, this time you land with your feet on solid ground, and you're standing on the roof. And you are standing on the roof of the library at this point.
Yeah, he'll actually probably be forced to a knee briefly just because of his conditions.
Sorry about that. If it helps, you didn't vomit. You have no idea how many of my apprentices have vomited the first time that's happened to them.
Is that a reference?
Is what a reference?
Never mind. Apprentices. Yes, I did have a wonderful trip through. Let's see. I don't know if they're timelines or it's. I suppose it could be considered a very long story, but I suppose you are part of the puzzle. So, yes, this chat and me inadvertently destroying
hundreds of thousands of euros worth of valuable literature. I felt I'd be helpful.
Thank you. He feels very pained to admit this. Like, oh no! his attitude, but it's like, what have I done? What the fuck? He's so pissed off at himself.
D'Onofrio, for her part, sits down with her legs kind of looped over the side of the building, and she removes a pack of cigarettes from her pocket. She'll offer you a cigarette.
Thank you, but I don't smoke.
That's fine. You will notice just the weirdest little thing that she does. She will put the cigarette in her mouth. She'll put away the box, and then in order to light it, she won't remove a lighter. She taps it with her finger. It's like, boop.
Oh my, that's a cute trick.
Thank you. So, I suppose I better be the one to tell you this. Right. You have absolutely, positively, and quantifiably no idea what's happening, do you?
No. Other than this entire situation being a complete clusterfuck and running into several unrefined figures who attempted to, well, one of which attempted to kill me, and then running into the very refined figure such as your, which was yourself. Lovely outfit, by the way. Very militant.
Well, that would make sense. Right. Okay. So, I find that this is oddly the best way to do it. Lord help me for the pop culture reference I'm about to make, but congratulations. You're a wizard, Thaddeus.
Now that... You're doing this on purpose.
All right. Okay. So, she will proceed to remove a hip flask, take a hit from it, offer you the hip flask.
That's not a bar now.
I beg your pardon?
He'll take the hip flask and drink it.
Excellent. It is some really, really, really strong whiskey.
And it's only 3 in the afternoon.
Well, I can categorically say that it is 5 o'clock somewhere. So, basically, okay. You're new, so I'm going to try and be as delicate as I can. Fuck my life. Why do they send me to do this? I've never understood. I'm not good with people. I'm not a people person.
That is perhaps why.
Alright, so what you've just experienced is called being shaken awake, or an awakening, in which you come into yourself. In that time, the possible becomes impossible, the impossible becomes likely, and everything is transmuted all the way to hell and back.
And here I thought I was just being dicked around.
However, she will say, as she looks side to side, she will breathe out smoke from her cigarette, and she will then weave it around in her hands, and you'll see a butterfly form from the smoke, very much in the same style as Gandalf created a ship in Lord of the Rings. However, this time she'll snap her hand closed on the smoke in both directions to kind of clap them together. And when she opens her hands, there is a real butterfly sitting there. And that's not me doing sleight of hand before you ask.
Yeah, he actually eyes that. He kind of, again, with the way he studies things, he kind of, his eyes narrow, and he kind of gets a bit of a lopsided grin as he looks at, my, that is remarkable. How did you do that?
How do I explain this? Everything has a name that's given to it at the time of its conception, a name that is its power, a name that breeds truth. I merely altered the name of the smoke to make it into that of a butterfly.
I've heard of this in several texts I've read in the past. I believe such a concept actually exists within several cultures.
Mm.
everything having tying effectively the summing up of a how to put it, divine identity, celestial identity.
But yes, needless to say, one way or the other, you're one of us now. In all honesty, I could feel your awakening, mostly because she'll point with the two fingers that are holding the cigarette. The chantry, or the place where my particular order lives, just over there. It's only like 2 streets away. The Griffith Building, it's called.
Oh, I'm not going
But
to join
yeah,
a choir, am I? I'm not joining any choirs.
joining a what? No, not that kind of. He is new.
He is
He
being
is new.
he is being a sarcastic asshole, by the way.
You will see the fact that her hair catches fire for a brief moment before she shakes her head and puts it out. Yeah, let's not be coy with me. Thank you, Mr. Crane. I swear before the maker of all things, I'll make you go the same way as Ichabod, and don't think I won't.
Does he know what that is?
Have you read Sleepy Hollow?
No, but he probably has.
Okay. Have you seen the movie Sleepy Hollow?
I saw an episode of the TV series once.
I hate you, Chris. Basically, Ichabod Crane gets murdered by the Headless Horseman and such.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing that way back in the day.
Back when you were young and foolish.
Back when I was young and foolish. Yeah, I remember. I don't think I've ever seen the full movie. I've just seen like parts of it, like over 2-year intervals.
Nice. She will say, "So I'm here to make sure that you know the ropes and that you're kept on, and that your transition period from ignorance into knowledge is smooth, I guess."
I don't suppose me removing hundreds of thousands of euros in valuable literature helped with this in any way whatsoever, did it?
I'm going to deal with that eventually when it stops being funny.
I was going to volunteer to help, but I do feel rather responsible for that absolute mess, and I don't wish anyone else to be held accountable for that particular misgiving.
Frankly, okay, I'm going to level with you. Your awakening was much more sedate than some of the ones that I've seen. Literally, about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, we had a kid who awoke and killed 10 people accidentally in the process. Contemplate that.
I'm very grateful that was not me.
Yeah, so books we can deal with. Body count, not so much. Right, so where was I? Yes, so, okay. So I represent an organization called the Order of Hermes. To give you my full name, it is I'm Magister Alexandre de Noffrier, the Flaming Crimson Falcon of Madeira, and she gives a fucking huge list of names that lasts for about a minute and a half. I've never bothered to write de Noffrier's title list because it would take me a crap long time.
He just thinks to himself, fiction has not done you justice. It has also ruined you. He thinks to himself.
She will casually bat him over the side of the head and saying, "Stop thinking that."
Ow, it's rude to pry.
Uh-huh. But as I said, I'm here to make sure that you get settled in okay, and if you have any questions, to answer them, I guess. Oh, sorry, she would also add in, of course, that she is a member of House Flambeau in there somewhere.
Theo will just nod and pretend to know what that is, but it's pretty obvious he has no fucking idea what half of this means.
Excellent.
So he will just say, "Well, there is I'm sure you get riddled with a great many questions. As much as the local mafia gets riddled with a lot of bullets." So I'm not entirely sure where to begin, because obviously, being as new as I am, I suppose there's a lot of ground to cover. You said I have undergone an awakening. Perhaps then you can answer a question that has been lingering on me for the past half hour. I met someone prior to you that during my so-called awakening. Cirrus, holding a crystal ball, spoke to me about infinite possibilities, encouraged me to explore somewhat.
Aha, we're still live. Sorry, my internet went a bit
That's
odd.
sorry, I'll just restart his sentence. He says, "I'm sure you get riddled with questions in the same way that the local mob is riddled with bullets."
That depends. Some people want to learn or know more than others. Oftentimes, others just want a stiff drink and will ask me generally in a few days' time. But depends on the given individual.
Well, I'm almost lost for choice. Although I suppose I should start with perhaps I should start with the one that has been pressing on my mind the most. Before you, I encountered another individual, a blind Cirrus, wielded a crystal ball. Spoke to me about when you spoke of what is impossible becomes likely. She spoke of me now having my eyes uncovered and now knowing certainty.
Yes. Chances are.
Encourage me to explore the local timeline.
All right, so to give you an explanation, every one of us has two souls. Well, not necessarily two souls, but that's the easiest way for me to explain it. There is the higher soul and there's the lower soul. The lower soul is your soul. The higher soul, however, is the avatar. It is the source through which magic flows. It is how we are deemed worthy of our awakening, and then that soul or that spiritual presence joins with ours. You clearly just had a conversation with yours.
So it is a manifestation of myself.
No, because after you die, it will pass on. It is a personification of what you want to be, perhaps, or a personification of what you are now, maybe, but it will also be a personification of others as it goes forward. I hope that makes sense.
It does. It is something I suppose the way I'm wrapping my head around it right now is that it is something of a spiritual guide that manifests itself as an aspect of my identity.
Yes, that is apt.
And it is this second soul that determines our worth in regards to becoming awakened.
No. It is the thing that chooses us to become awakened. Essentially, when you wake up, it is because this being has given you the ability to do so.
How does it do that?
That's a question. Honestly, it's one I don't know. I'm not a huge scholar when it comes to the Avatar. Other people are. That's not my area of expertise.
If only I could be paid for these things.
Mm.
I suppose the other question I would have would be magic. Yes, how do?
That depends. For example, there's another group in our little eclectic group of misfits that we call the Nine Mystical Traditions. All of the traditions view the world differently, but we come together in order to safeguard our viewpoints and our philosophies. So, for example, I'm what we call a Hermetic, which is the traditional view of high ritual chanting around and dancing and all that, like Merlinic bullshit, I guess you could call it. I don't go in for that stuff much myself, but c'est la vie. Then you've got the polar opposite, which are the Etherites, who, or the Society of Ether, essentially think Doc Brown. They manage to manifest their craft through incredible advanced technology that boggles the mind of most people. So, yes, time traveling DeLoreans can in fact be a thing. We all do it differently.
I was going to ask, in fact, how magic and science interact, considering they're often considered entirely separate of each other. How does magic interact with natural law?
Magic breaks natural law. However, it is dangerous to do so because the consensus, the reality that people have, is entirely impingent upon the will of the world. So, for example, I could levitate myself off the ground in Times Square, breaking the law of gravity if I chose to. However, because the consensus does not believe that, I would be struck by an universal constant we call paradox because of the disbelief of the inherent populace. So I could break the laws of physics, but if I do, I'm unfortunately struck by the forces that would allow me to break the laws of physics.
Interesting. I didn't note any adverse effects when you conjured up that butterfly from smoke.
That's because the backlash is not. Essentially, I took some paradox into what we call my pattern or my vestige self. It wasn't enough to trigger a backlash, however.
So effects that are more avert to attract more negative attention.
Correct.
So, I suppose that begs the question of how magic works with the consensus then. If magic can be used to break natural law, but it is considered a risk to do so, can magic work within the confines of a consensus or within natural law? Or would that just be
Yes.
following natural law and effectively just following the laws of science?
As long as it is not obvious, as long as it is subtle. For example, um, hmm, for example, commanding a sleepy person to sleep, commanding someone who is already tired to sleep is a given example. There are many others, but yes, you can in fact skirt the edges.
So I suppose conjuring up a gravity well in Times Square is out of the question then.
I mean, it's possible unless you want to kill yourself in the process.
I suppose I should ask, any examples of backlash? Do you just poof into smoke and die, or?
No, in general, your body is racked by the energies and various different oddly unpleasant things happen.
If that is the case, then obviously I am considering this entire situation. All of this is very new to me. I am given to understand that we hide ourselves. Yes.
Oh yes.
If it is effectively the will of the people, as it were, that is hampering our abilities, would it not make more sense to act openly? I assume there's a good answer for this because clearly, but it is something that does strike my mind. Of course, if it is a matter of convincing the will of
If you
the
tell
masses to shift.
if you tell the world that magic is real, then the consensus is bared full upon magic, in which case magic shatters because the consensus judges it to be impossible. We must maintain whatever resources in the matter that we already have without damaging what could be. But take, for example, the Celestial Chorus. They are essentially magi who believe in the one true God, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, etc., etc., etc. They can do things in certain circumstances, like they can heal people with their hands in prayer because people believe that that can happen. And it's just a matter of finding your own walk around, basically.
Oh, now I'm very interested. So magic can take many different forms.
Yes. Yes, it can.
Now that is something I would be very interested in studying. A shame I destroyed almost every historical document in university. Oh well.
I'm going to put them back.
Well,
Good
thank you,
God.
thank you, thank you.
Give me time.
Oh, well, of course, this was. I take full responsibility in that particular matter.
Good.
And I assume there are. My apologies for being so forward. I'm aware this is obviously you are doing your job and you'd rather not be, how to say, slowed down, interrupted in your work.
I mean, it's entirely fine. This is what I'm here to do. I merely wish to make sure that you have no further questions that require my attention.
I assume we have rules, other than just hiding ourselves.
Yes. There are laws, in fact. I'll be more than happy to get you a book on the topic, as my explaining it would take a very long time.
Oh, I would be incredibly grateful, thank you.
Ultimately, it's very probable that you'll have to choose a tradition or a disparate group. The disparates are the crafts. They're not members of the traditions, but they're entirely social individuals. That suits you best and find someone to teach you the ways and all that good stuff.
So it could be considered that each tradition is a nation and the traditions as a collective are I don't know. I don't know nearly enough to call them a unified political faction, but a faction that works together collectively towards a given goal.
They are
Similar
relatively
to,
unified.
and these disparates are a separate faction.
Yes, but we are allied, in a manner of speaking.
But that implies there is an adversary.
Ah, you're very perceptive. That is the Technocratic Union. A group of technomancers who originally called the Order of Reason, who believe that humanity should be discouraged from any form of belief that does not fit with their worldview.
Oh, how very dogmatic of them.
Incredibly.
I suppose I am to avoid them.
It is unlikely that you will encounter the Union, though they do have their interests here in the city. We'll see. As I said, I have no doubt that if you find somewhere to hang your hat, those individuals who you choose to join will give you more information. In the meantime, there's a nightclub or a private club called Agrabah Nights. She'll throw him a card that has its GPS coordinates. Most mages tend to congregate there. If you want to meet your
I'd be.
peers.
Thank you very much. I very much appreciate it.
Don't worry about it. As I said, I'm just doing my job.
I suppose my final question to you would be, are there any questions I haven't asked that I should have asked?
That's always an intelligent one. No. Ironically, I think that you've covered all of your bases. I have to admit, I'm impressed.
I appreciate that you think so, and I also appreciate that you came out of your way to find me. I was awfully, befuzzled, and yes, would not be very pleased to find out that I had, done what I did.
It will take me about an hour or so to restore the books, but they will be restored.
Thank you. I suppose I should then visit this chantry and begin learning how to make butterflies out of smoke and all that. That'd be nice.
That is a rather advanced trick, but yes.
Life skills.
I mean, I would say more life goals, but it's entirely up to you.
Life goals.
All right, Thaddeus. Or Theodus. I'm going to call you Theo. Yes, that's a plan. All right, Theo. She reaches up. She offers a bro fist.
You will fist bump her. Yeah.
She smiles. Cool. Oh, shit. Throw me your phone.
Okay. He'll take out his phone and hand it to
her. She enters her number into your phone. In case you need...
Sick.
All right. In that case, I'll leave you to it. As I said, the word should be back in the books in about an hour, and it will be remembered as an interesting yet slightly over-the-top prank.
Of which I am no doubt a victim of.
I mean, don't be a victim all your life, Theo. It'll end sadly.
Oh, I don't intend for that. Don't worry.
All right. And with that, we shall end our scene. Thank you, player, for playing. Thank you, watchers, for watching. This has been another scene in Darkness in Dublin.